All right, welcome back to the channel. I know you guys have heard the saying, I don't like to use it, but the pot calling the kettle black. Mikey Garcia says that Vasyl Lomachenko made his career by fighting smaller and weaker guys. And that's why when he ran up against Teofimo Lopez, he lost. Well, there's another saying. Takes one to know one. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Mikey Garcia. Man, Mikey Garcia says probably the most hypocritical thing that I've heard somebody say this week. And that's a lot because we're talking about that says a lot because that's a week of boxing hypocrisy, okay? And you got Bob Arum's talking all the time. You got Eddie Hearn talking all the time. Lord have mercy, you've got Tyson Fury talking all the time with just enough hypocrisy. God, dog, man, you can spread it on a cake and sell it. That's how much hypocrisy there is on a daily basis in boxing. And Mikey Garcia just went along with it and added his little bit to the pie. Now, Mikey says this is Lomachenko. Says that he beat smaller, weaker guys. Wow. Where do you start with this? First of all, he's right. That is the case with Vasyl Lomachenko. He did do that. He started at 126, and you could clearly see, for example, the fight that he had between he and Gary Russell Jr. The only reason that he won that fight is because Gary Russell Jr. was smaller. That's it. And he was significantly smaller, which is why Gary Russell Jr. is still at 126 pounds, and they're roughly the same age, and Vasyl Lomachenko has to fight at 135 because he was never long for 126. He didn't belong there when he got to the pros. He could have started his career at 130. He started he fought in the amateurs at 132. Okay? So most definitely that part of that is true. Now, was Orlando a smaller, weaker guy that beat him? No, he was not. Why? Because Orlando Salido probably should have been at 132. But that's the game that people play in the sport of boxing, the weight game. So the idea that Mikey Garcia would look up and be like, huh? Dude, Mikey, that's what you did your career. That's what got you where you are. At 126 pounds, Mikey Garcia was a knockout machine, a one-punch knockout machine. Mikey Garcia is now fighting at 147. Mikey Garcia fought very well at 140. Mikey Garcia never needed to be down there at 126. The only reason he was at 126 is so he didn't have to fight guys his own size. And that's just a fact. If you look at the first 30 fights of his career, there's almost nothing there. Okay? Almost nothing there because there is machine gun. No, there's just journeyman after journeyman after journeyman after novice after novice after novice from his first fight all the way up till maybe like the first 27, 28 fights. Vasyl Lomachenko only has 16 fights in his career. It is not possible for Vasyl Lomachenko to have cherry-picked and beat up as many small guys as Mikey Garcia has. So Mikey Garcia saying that about Vasyl Lomachenko, dude, that's that phrase that they use. That is quite rich. You know what I mean? As in, that is some heavy BS that you are spreading. Okay? So, did Lomachenko lose to Teofimo Lopez because of the size issue? Absolutely he did. And it's not even up for debate. If Vasyl Lomachenko was the same size as Teofimo Lopez, he would have whopped the floor with Teofimo Lopez. And that's what Teofimo Lopez needs to be worried about moving forward. Because eventually, when you get out of beating these little small guys, like in lightweight, like Teofimo Lopez is doing, because he's beating small guys. The one guy that I saw that honestly gave him the most trouble was a 6-foot Japanese dude. that he had a hard time getting onto because he was short. But that is an exception. That is not the rule. You're not even going to find those type of guys usually at 140 pounds. So, yeah, man, I appreciate what Vasyly's saying about what Mikey's saying about Vasyl, but dude, you can say this, that's hypocrisy. That's hypocrisy. You are saying you're chastising Lomachenko for doing the same thing you did. And you're chastising Vasyl Lomachenko for doing the same thing that Teofimo just did to Lomachenko. A guy that has no business at 135, really, who probably should be at 140 and more than likely is going to be at 147. Beating a guy that should probably have started his career at 130 and ended up somewhere around 135 pounds in Vasyl Lomachenko. Okay? So I get a little tired of it. Okay? Little tired of it. There's a lot of things in boxing that mess up the sport, and they are almost all connected to greed. The greed of a promoter, the greed of a fighter, whatever it is, whoever the greed is, or greed of a network. But most of the problems we have in boxing are around somebody being, somebody just doing too much, somebody trying to get over, somebody trying to change a rule or change a situation just so that you can solve a problem, a financial problem that you have right now. But then the ramifications of your solution to a financial problem, rip through the sport of boxing and cause all kind of competition problems. And so which particular solution am I talking about this time? It's the day before weigh-in. There are so many people that run around telling stories about how same day weigh-ins or the day before weigh-ins is really to help the safety of the boxer. That's not true. It has nothing to do with the safety of the boxer. And in fact, I would argue the same day weigh-ins is better for the safety of boxing, because that means that you're not going to see what you saw with Vasyl Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez. Because Teofimo Lopez wouldn't have been able to make 135 the same morning without absolutely being emaciated during the fight and losing to Vasyl Lomachenko, who can make the weight comfortably. All because they moved it back a day. Now, Fernando, why do you say that it's selfishness and greed that put the same day weigh-in there? The day before weigh-in. Because that is the truth. Because back, I think it was Eddie Mustafa Muhammad, back in the early it was Eddie Mustafa Muhammad. Yeah, I believe it was Eddie Mustafa Muhammad, who was a light heavyweight champion. And he was supposed to be defending his belt against somebody. And it was in the early 80s. And the guy missed weight. And it was the weigh-in was the day of. Now watch this. People have been doing this for 200 years. But in this particular instant, it was on television. And when it might have been Dwight Muhammad Qawi, but I'm pretty sure that it is Dwight Qawi Muhammad. But regardless, they didn't have the fight because he pulled out. Because the light heavy, because Eddie Mustafa Muhammad pulled out. And then what happened? There was no fight. Well, the networks had already set the date aside. So the networks had already paid all this promotion for the fight, right? They had already set their schedule aside. And they were like, hold on now, we got to cancel a fight. We can't do this. If somebody's going to do this again, we need to know this a day ahead of time so that we might be able to get a replacement or we could be able to do something. But we can't do this anymore. That's why we need the day before weigh-in. It has absolutely nothing to do with the safety of the boxer. Nothing. And in fact, in my opinion, it endangers the life of the boxer. Because now you have guys doing exactly what Mikey Garcia said he's doing. Said that Lomachenko did, and exactly what he did, and exactly what Teofimo Lopez is doing, which is fighting smaller guys because they have an extra, because they can dehydrate their body, remove the water from their body, remove the carbs from their body, and be a shell of themselves 24 hours before the fight. But then within 10 hours before the fight, they picked up 15 pounds And they look like a monster next to the guy that he fought. And this is what is consistently been happening in boxing because of the greed related to boxing. And if there was any chance whatsoever of getting and changing that, I would love it. But there's just no going back on stuff like that. Because once people make the greed move, the media then comes in and starts making all these ridiculous reasons and justifications for why the greedy move was right. And then everybody buys into it. And now we've got day before weigh-ins with people that are weighing in, that are supposed to be fighting at lightweight, but then come into the ring as a dang near a junior welterweight. Come in not junior welterweight. That come in dang a junior middleweight. Okay. Teofimo Lopez walked into that ring probably somewhere around 155 pounds. You know what I mean? It's like that is not a lightweight. And that's not taking shots at Teofimo Lopez. That's taking a shot at the sport of boxing. And it's important to understand because it's not about the safety of the fighter. It's about the safety of the network's pocketbook. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. And that's very hypocritical on the part of Mikey Garcia to be pointing fingers about it. You let me know what you think. And with that, I'm out. Peace.